Great premarital counseling only works for your marriage if you use it well. In this episode, I'm sharing what's typically covered in a Christian premarital counseling program, how to choose the right counseling for you, and how to get the best out of it. Hi, my name is Oyinkan Dawodu, the host of Colours and Flavours Podcast. Here you get inspiring stories, advice, and encouragement for navigating faith, dating, and marriage as a young woman. Welcome to Colours and Flavours. This episode is one of 5 from the series called Before You Say I Do on the Colours and Flavours Podcast, where I'm sharing tips and advice on preparing for marriage, enjoying your wedding day, and navigating your first year in marriage. I'm sure it's going to be helpful, so stay tuned and learn, and I hope you put to practice what you're learning here as well. So, premarital counseling. There are many people who don't see the importance of getting premarital counseling because, you think, it's love, it's marriage. I'm sure we can figure it out. However, counseling is important, and I'm hoping that by the end of this episode, you reconsider if you're on the fence about it and you get the best counseling for your marriage so you're well informed and well prepared for marriage. So, what's the typical content of a Christian premarital counseling program? Now, in that counseling program, depending on where you're getting your counseling from, the content might differ, but typically there's some subjects that would be covered. So you get to learn what a Christian marriage looks like, what the purpose of a Christian marriage is, the roles of a husband and a wife in a Christian marriage, how to effectively communicate in marriage, what laws affect your marriage depending on the country where you reside, what medical considerations you should take into heart concerning marriage, how to navigate relationships with extended family members and in-laws, how to achieve oneness in marriage, how to make a Christian marriage work, how to resolve conflict in marriage, how to manage a home, how to navigate parenthood, navigate intimacy in marriage, and yes, that includes sex. So things like that are what's typically covered in a Christian premarital counseling program. Now, there are different types of premarital counseling programs. There's ones that are free, usually provided by the church, and there are also Christian marriage counselors that provide premarital counseling where you have to pay to get that counseling. So the free ones are the ones by the church, like I mentioned, and they would typically cover similar content. But with free counseling at the church, sometimes it takes a different kind of structure than a paid counseling. So most times for the free counseling at church, there's usually more group counseling sessions. So this is where you're having counseling with other intending couples from your church. So you don't have that sense of a private counseling. So they just teach you guys as a group. And some churches still offer one-on-one counseling for maybe particular topics, or they might give you 2 one-on-one counseling sessions in the entire counseling program, and the rest of your classes are done as a group counseling. Whereas with the paid counseling with a marriage counselor or a marriage coach, in that case, it would be done as one-on-one counseling. I believe they give you all your sessions privately. So now that you know that there's the free counseling, most times group counselings, and there's also the private counseling, which is typically paid for with a marriage coach outside your church, you can choose which premarital counseling you would like to have for you and your intending spouse. Now, most times, if you are getting married in a church, they will make it mandatory for you to still do the premarital counseling that the church offers. And then if you desire, you can get the additional counseling with a marriage coach where you pay for it and get, private sessions. So which one should you choose? Now that depends. Like I said, the content are similar, especially because it's Christian premarital counseling, and the Bible is what they're going to use to provide you wisdom and counsel. And also there will be people teaching you or helping you with advice based on their own personal experience in marriage as well. But generally, it is scriptural advice, so it shouldn't be that different in terms of content. However, there are also other factors that you might want to consider if you want to settle for the church counselings, like I said, which are typically group sessions, or if you want to go for paid or additionally go for a paid private one-on-one premarital counseling. So you have to choose. Do I want all my sessions to be one-on-one, or am I fine with having group sessions for majority of my counseling classes? And then ask about the content of the counseling program. Even if you're getting counseling from a church, you are allowed to ask what topics are going to be covered, what are we going to be learning. And so that way you confirm if it's robust and sufficient for you and your intending spouse. So you can ask, even if you're paying for it, you can ask them as well, what's the content of the counseling program, and be sure that it's something that you believe is robust enough for you. Also, you can think about what kind of unique factors or context exists in your relationship. So, for instance, if there's a large or wide age gap between you and your intending spouse, there might be additional context that you need maybe additional counseling for, in which case you may prefer that you have one-on-one sessions where you can ask more questions and ensure that you understand how certain lessons or principles on a Christian marriage will apply in your context. So some of the factors that you might want to think about if you need that private counseling would be age gap. Think if there's any significant cultural differences, significant background differences, or maybe past trauma, past experiences, or any factor that you think can significantly impact your future marriage. If you think, oh, well, considering these things, we would prefer to have one-on-one counseling so that we can feel more relaxed, feel more vulnerable, so we can ask questions and ensure that we are actually equipped for our marriage. Then, in that case, I believe you can consider a one-on-one counseling, whether speak with your church if they can accommodate that and help you, or if it's not available, then it's worth considering paying for a private counseling with a Christian marriage coach. That's still important. So don't just go to any marriage counselor. Make sure there are people who subscribe to scripture and will give you godly counsel, because that's important. And in my opinion, if you can afford a wedding, you can afford good premarital counseling. So don't just stick with something because it's cheap or because it's free. Get the best one for you and make sure that you are going into marriage well informed and well prepared for it. So why is premarital counseling important? Why are we even having this discussion? Well, like I said, it's very important that you go into marriage well prepared and well informed. So these counseling sessions prepare you for marriage. It helps you understand what marriage is really about. And sadly, there are many people in relationships that don't really know what marriage entails. Like for the Christian, you know that marriage is a covenant. It's supposed to be a union, a covenant that will last a lifetime. So are you really ready for that? So that counseling session helps you prepare, helps you understand what marriage is really about, and it ensures that you start off your marriage on the right note and also equip you to build a marriage that will stand the test of time, a marriage that will last. I think premarital counseling is also very essential because ideally it's supposed to help you review your decision to proceed to marriage or not. Many times, Christian premarital counseling tilts more to preparing you for marriage. However, if you go through proper counseling, you should get those moments where you are actually asked to consider, do you still want to get married to this person, or do you still want to get married right now? And it's really fine if the outcome of that premarital counseling session is that you hold off the wedding or you're no longer getting married to the person. It's fine, trust me. It doesn't mean that you failed. If that's the right decision, then it's the best outcome from that session. So that's something that premarital counseling also helps you with. If you're enjoying this episode, please like this video and subscribe to the podcast for inspiring stories, advice, and encouragement on navigating faith, dating, and marriage. It's also a good way to support me and encourage me to do more of these videos. Thank you. So how can you get the best out of your premarital counseling? So now you've chosen a good counselor, you've chosen a good program. How do you ensure you get the best of it? Well, you decide how much you get out of it. First, be vulnerable with your counselor. Yeah. You need to open up and share any relevant information about your relationship that can help your counselor tailor their counsel for you. It's one thing for a counselor to give great counsel, it's another thing for them to give great counsel that is relevant to your particular situation. So you need to be vulnerable with them. Many times, your counselors don't know what's happening in your relationship. And yes, they can be discerning by the Spirit, but ultimately, God expects you to communicate. So be vulnerable. Make sure you choose counselors or sign up for a program where you can be comfortable to share and open up, because that's the only way that the counselor can help you and give you good counsel, right? So be vulnerable. The next tip would be to ask questions. Many times the counseling programs are done as classes, and yeah, there's some cases where the counselors ask the intending couples questions, but most times they teach and then open the floor and ask, oh, would you like to ask any questions? So it's up to you and your intended spouse to actually ask questions. So instead of assuming that you understand something or you know how it's going to work in your future marriage, ask questions to clarify. Ask questions on how you can practically apply a principle or a lesson if you're unsure of how that's going to work out, right? So number 3 would be to be open to feedback. As much as your counselor is rooting for your relationship, like I said, counseling is also a time for you to brutally, honestly review your relationship before proceeding to marriage. So you need to give that counselor the opportunity to share honest feedback with you or about your intending spouse or even about this decision to get married, and be ready to take actions that can make you better or prepare you better for marriage. If your counselor has reservations about you getting married, maybe at that particular time or to that person, is something worth paying attention to. All right. So be open to feedback. And when they give you feedback, work on it so that you are not going into your marriage thinking, oh, yeah, once I get married, everything will be fixed. Trust me, marriage doesn't change you. All right. It won't change your spouse either. It won't change the intending spouse. So work on yourselves so that you can have a better experience in marriage. And then the final tip on getting the best out of your premarital counseling session would be to resolve any critical issues that your counselor identifies before you proceed to marriage. So if there's anything that stuck out during your counseling program, maybe a recurring feedback, something that your counselor thinks you both need to work on or one of you needs to work on, make sure that you resolve those critical issues before you go on to get married. Like I said, it's fine if you have to hold off the wedding or even call it off. Marriage is supposed to be for a lifetime. It's important that you get it right. All right. So getting married won't change either of you guys. Don't ignore any warning signs and don't rush into marriage. Trust me, your family and friends will understand and they can wait. As long as you get it right, then all is well. All right. So make sure you get the help you need. It's okay to hold off. It's okay to cancel. Just make sure you get it right. It's your life we're talking about. Yeah. So, yeah, that's it on this episode on premarital counseling. Ensure you're going into marriage well informed and well prepared for it. In the final episode of the Before You Say I Do series, something beautiful is going to be happening. You get to ask me questions on preparing for marriage, planning a wedding, and how to navigate the first year of marriage. Please check the link in the description note of this episode or in the episode note, depending on where you're listening, and submit your questions. I look forward to responding to your questions and sharing more tips and advice. In the next episode, I'm sharing lessons from my personal experience of planning a wedding and tips for enjoying your wedding day. Speak soon. Cheers.